Make game day yours. Tickets, food and drinks, stats, and streaming. Everything you need is in the Utah Mammoth app. Download today and make game night easy. Download on both Android and iPhone. Tusk Top.
PK, we were just talking about Rob Wright, and there's an associated question there. You know, the whole thought about should you overpay for Rob Wright. Well, there are reports that NIL payments to the basketball players are up 65% over last year. Absurd or the cost of winning? To which Michael says both. Are you really overpaying if everybody's up 65%? Everybody's price tag has just jumped. That's the market.
Yeah.
Vernon points out NIL is making it almost impossible for mid-majors to win anymore. March Madness is not March Madness.
Oh, I mean, when have they've won a game or two here and there? Maybe win 4, but is that
they
really
don't win
that
championships.
different?
There have been several teams with Cinderella runs to Final Fours or title games, and Butler did it more than once, although that's in the rearview mirror a little ways now. But if Florida Atlantic can do it.
Well, I think it can be done, but it's rare because that's why you mention them, because it is rare.
Yep, it is rare.
If it were commonplace, you wouldn't mention it. It wouldn't be something that stood out in your mind. So I think you can still have those runs, but they were never sustained. And those programs, they caught fire. As St. Joseph's had one a few years back,
Yeah.
and then
VCU
this was
had
before
one.
the NIL. And then what does the coach do? He goes to Seton Hall,
I'm out.
right? But yet we're
Routinely
going to
parlayed
criticize
into
the
big
players
jobs.
for doing that. They're going to go to a bigger school and get more money. It doesn't make any sense. So it's been done and will continue to be done. It won't ever change, that pattern, right? The Florida Atlantic coach, where did he go? Oh, he went to Michigan and just won the national title, right? And he had transfers. He's a transfer himself.
Yeah, you don't even need that big a run. I mean, it's just the way things work.
Right. But those are the two you mentioned. And Brad Stevens, where did he go? He went to the Celtics. So your big runs, they all take off. I just named you 3 that were listed in the Cinderella category, and they were gone. They took off to greener pastures. So the players shouldn't? It doesn't make any sense. In the end, those coaches, the 3 of them, they had no loyalty to their individual school. They got a better offer, presumably, most definitely, more money. And what did they do? They took it.
Yep. Florida Gulf Coast, they just went Sweet 16, and Enfield was gone to USC in a heartbeat, and now SMU. So
yeah, I mean, that was a while ago.
Go on down the line. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it is insane, but no one is forcing anyone to do it. It's the arms race. It used to be the arms race was the facilities and the shiny helmets and the new buildings and all those things, right? You had to keep up, and they would talk about that. Well, now nobody talks about that because most of the folks have it, and then also it's far more about the literal cash that you're giving to the individual. And I could have the junkiest facility, but if I pay a player $5 million, he ain't going to care.
We're practicing in a high school gym across the street. All right, make sure my $5 million is there.
So
I'll be
it turns out that really didn't matter as much. That was just the focus. That was something for coaches to complain about. And now it's the money. Well, don't do it then. I mean, there are programs that aren't doing it. I mean, I doubt the Big Sky and Big West is doing it to the degree.
Right.
And so they're going to – but they've always gotten what they paid for. They were always behind the 8 ball when it came to all that stuff. That really hasn't changed, right? It's always been that way. And now it'll continue to be that way. And these guys are getting big-time money. It's just funny the way the explosion has taken place to where it was hush-hush under the table, and people would say, we got to get these kids money because they're the product. And, the coach is one of the reasons, but it's also the product, and we're mostly about when we go to the games, we go to watch the players. And so that's what we have here. And now it's exploded, and now we want to rein it in. It's like, wow, how did we get from point A to point Z without going to point H? We just blew right by all that.
0 to 60.
I think it's there 0 to about 500.
Glenn says it's absurd, of course, but it's also the cost of doing business. If you want to win, you got to spend.
Yeah, and so what is your return on investment for those guys? It's funny, BYU, because they were sort of a new kid on the block with that, that was a national and local discussion. Did Duke, if they're looking to win it all, did they get the return? They haven't each of the last 2 years, but is it more than that? Because I can argue it's more than that. Financially, whatever they gave out, did they recoup? Is it when we talk about an ROI, that's usually in a financial sense, where it's literal finance. It's not anything extrinsic benefits or blessings in terms of publicity. Obviously, in BYU, they got it in terms of unmatched publicity, particularly for a team that went out in the first round, which they've had so many of them. Did they get the amount of publicity? Well, yeah, it's a smashing success. Places like Duke, they don't really need any more publicity. They've got it as much as they could possibly handle. But did they get it? Is the only one that got it Michigan because they won the title? That's kind of harsh to say. I think probably financially, there's many schools that benefited from that.
Yeah, everybody's got to do their own thing there, and it probably depends on who you are. The president in Indiana will okay another $1 million raise to Kurt Signetti because they're looking at the $10 million or $20 million or whatever they're getting as these out-of-state students flood in and pay top dollar to go to Indiana. So that's the ROI to him. But you're right, to another booster, maybe it's just the thrill and the excitement and the pride factor. You know, and I guess every school has to set a bar. At Arizona, they didn't win it all, and I'm sure they're disappointed about getting blown out in the semifinal. But also the goal there for a long time was get back to the Final Four, and they did check that box.
Yeah, but somehow that doesn't seem good enough.
Yeah, the way the semifinal went, maybe it wasn't. You know, everybody's got to answer that for themselves, and whoever's writing the checks down there. And I guess that's the other thing. And we could probably get talk to the Robbie Boscos and the Chad Lewis's of the world. You know, if you got 4 or 5 big boosters, they don't necessarily see it all the same way, right? I mean, one booster might be thrilled by the Final Four, and another one might be horrified that Michigan just ran them off the floor. So
I do think for me, and this is just me, that it is kind of almost embarrassing. Certainly I would put it silly. I don't know if I'd go as far as gross, that some 50, 60-year-old, I'm going to pay all this money so I can feel good.
Yeah, gets a rush out of this.
That just seems wrong. Why do you care that much? That just seems to be a little bit over the top to me. I guess for BYU, maybe you can claim, I would assume if you're given that kind of money that you're probably connected and associated at the same level religiously, and maybe you think you're furthering the cause that it goes beyond basketball.
Right.
I love when they tell us that.
There's awareness. It starts conversations.
And maybe for the U of A, they can say, oh, yeah, sure, that we do that too. But do they really care about the university that much? Or is it so I can say, wow, I'm friends with fill-in-the-blank young man. He knows who I am. It's just, I just see something that's just a little off base about that. But that's the way the world goes, and that's how you have your entertainment. And somebody could say, man, you spend a lot of money at golf. What are you doing that for? That's ridiculous. I get it.